welcome again today to the 2024 HRSA Data Collection Platform webinar, also known as the PIMS webinar. We're joined today by the REI team who will be reviewing the new system, giving an overview of the change, and providing a demo. So I'm going to pass it over to the REI team for them to get started. Thank you all so much. In this... Oh.
Sorry, thank you so much, April.
Yep, go ahead. Thank you, Catherine.
So hi, everybody. Welcome to the HRSA Data Collection Platform webinar for the Evidence-Based Telehealth Network Program, TNP grantees. My name is Catherine, and I'll be your facilitator today. I also have some of our project team on the call as well to help answer any questions you may have. So today we'll walk you through the new system, the HRSA Data Collection Platform. For some, completing the performance report may be brand new, but for others of you who have previously completed grants, this new system is replacing the old EHB's PIMS, where you previously completed your performance report. We will walk through the system in a live demo. Please note as we go through that we are using test information, so the site may look a little bit different for you. When you log into your account, you will only see the program and grant that you are associated with. At the end, we'll also answer your questions. So throughout the presentation, please put any questions you have in the chat box, and we will do our best to get through all of them. So on the agenda for today's call, we'll first go over a quick overview of the change and who it's affecting. Then we'll look at how to access the new HRSA data collection platform and how to navigate the homepage. Next, and probably most important to everybody on this call, we'll show you how to complete and submit your performance report. Then we'll take a look at how to view the approval history and your approval reports. Next, we'll discuss how to respond to change requests from HRSA. And finally, we'll walk you through how to navigate and access your grantee raw data report. So let's take a look at an overview of the transition. Before we get into system details, let's look at a little bit of background on this transition. As of September 1st of this year, any performance reports created for EBTNP program grantees will be created and submitted in the new HRSA data collection platform. This new system has an updated look and feel and is easier to navigate to give you a better experience while completing and submitting your performance reports than our previous performance reporting system. As a reminder, this only applies to performance reports created on or after September 1st of 2024. So the reporting period would be September 1st, 2023 to August 31st, 2024. And the submission open date will be September 1st, 2024. The reporting due date will be October 11th, 2024. Now let's take a look at how to access the new system. So starting September 1st, you'll use the link to the new HRSA data collection platform. When your performance report is set up, you'll receive an email with the link to the system. While this is not a part of the HRSA EHBs, the systems are connected, so you will still use your EHB's login.gov email and password to complete two-factor authentication to access the system. If you do not have a login.gov account for the EHBs yet, please go ahead and create one. Now would be a great time so you can hit the ground running on September 1st. Or let's be honest, September 3rd, since September 2nd is a holiday. And there are also some HRSA wiki pages available for you to walk you through that process. And those will be linked in these slides, which we are going to provide you after the presentation today. Now I'll go ahead and hand it over to Jerry to walk you through the demo.
Thank you, Catherine, and thank you everyone for joining us today. Just give me one moment to share my screen. So I'm sharing my screen. Hopefully you all can see it. And this is the home page, the very first screen you're going to see when you log in to the HRSA data collection platform. First thing you'll see is welcome you to the HRSA data collection platform. Then on the right, just below the welcome, you're going to see your name. And if you click on your name, you're going to see you have options to either go to the home page or to log out. This is the proper way to log out, is clicking on that name and clicking on the log out. Then you're going to see tabs here at the top. There's going to be a tab for the home page, a tab for the OAT performance reports, data extracts, and help. The OAT performance reports, data extracts, and help have corresponding widgets at the bottom of the page. So you can either click on the tab at the top or the widget at the bottom to open up one of these pages. I'm going to go and click on the widget for the OAT performance reports. And that's going to open up our OAT performance reports tab. And the first thing we see is we're looking at our recently viewed records. These list views are changeable. You can choose different list views. The approved list reports list view is going to show you all of your performance reports that you've submitted that have been approved by your project officer. The change requested reports list view is going to show you all of your performance reports that you have submitted in which your project officer asked you to make some kind of a change and send it back to you for more work. The in progress reports are going to be your reports that have a status of in progress or not started. Your recently viewed is going to be any record that you have recently viewed. And your submitted reports are going to be the reports that you have submitted for review, but no action has been taken by your project officer or the other people who are reviewing your records at HRSA. You can choose one of these list views. I'm going to choose the in progress list view. And if you choose that list view, you're going to see the information associated with that list view. And you can pin that list view. I just pinned it. We're seeing a note there that it's been pinned. So now this is my default list view. So if I go to the home page, the next time I log in, when I click on the OAT performance reports page, since I pinned in progress reports, it's always going to open up to the in progress reports. I can do that for approved or change requested or submitted. I'm going to go back to the recently viewed reports and pin that. I also want to mention it defaults the very first time you open up to your recently viewed records. But if it's your first time logging in, there's no records that you've recently viewed. So there won't be any records listed in your recently viewed. You'll want to go to one of the other list views, view a record, and then when you look at your recently viewed, whatever record you've recently viewed will be listed as recently viewed. And so now that we talked about the list views, let's talk about the information that you see when you open up your OAT performance reports tab. So you're seeing a list of all of your performance reports. That list begins with the tracking ID. Very first column is the tracking ID. These tracking IDs are generated by the data collection platform system. It's how we differentiate between and identify your individual performance reports. Each one of these performance report tracking IDs is a clickable link. You can click on it to open up a particular report. Next is the submission status. Your submission status options are going to be on track or past due. Next is the submission name. And the submission name is a conglomeration of the fiscal year and the program name. Next is the grant number, a grant number associated with your grantee organization. Next is the program name, in this case, EBTNP. And then we have the reporting period, which is going to show you the start date for the reporting period and the end date for the reporting period. And then we have the status, whether it's not started, in progress, submitted, change requested, or approved. Those are all the status options that you can see. I do want to mention that this is test data, so the information you're seeing here may not exactly match what you see when you log in as a grantee. If your organization only has one grant, and that grant is with the EBTNP program, then you won't see these other programs listed like TNGP or TRC. But if your organization has multiple grants with the OAT, under OAT, and one of them is with EBTNP and another one might be with TNGP or TRC, then when you're looking at your performance reports, you'll see performance reports for every program associated with OAT. So now that we explained that, let's go ahead and start looking at these performance reports, see what all the fuss is about. First thing I want to do is I want to show you what a performance report looks like when it is not started. So I'm going to open up this one that has the status of not started. When a performance report opens up and it's not started, the first thing you're going to see on the upper left is that tracking ID again. Then you're going to see that there's an expandable header. In the expandable header, you're going to see when it's collapsed, you're going to see the grant number, you're going to see your grantee organization name, and you're going to see the start and end dates of the current reporting period. If you expand the header, then in addition to the grant number, the grantee organization name, and the current reporting period information, you'll see the report due date, the review status, which is currently not started, and the submitted date. The submitted date will be blank until you submit this particular report. And then below the expandable header, you're going to see the grantee data entry section. And in the grantee data entry section, you're going to see all the forms for this particular report. Each form has its own status. The status for each form is indicated by a symbol to the left of the form name. You can see the legend for the symbols. If the symbol up here, the symbol is a red circle, that means that form is not started. If the symbol is a yellow clock, that means that form is in progress. And if the symbol is a green circle with a check mark, that means that form is complete. For each one of these forms, you're going to have two options. You're going to have a view option, which is going to let you view the form in read-only mode. That means you're going to be able to see every step in the form or all the information in the form, but you're not going to be able to make any changes. It's read-only mode. And then you're going to have the start button, which will let you start to work in the form and begin to put information in on each one of these forms. Once a form has a status of in progress or complete, you won't see a start button anymore for the form. You'll see an edit button for each one of the forms that is in progress or complete. Below the list of forms, you're going to see this instruction here, which talks about how you can generate a PDF. And then there's the generate PDF button here. You can click on the generate PDF button at any time. So if you wanted to generate the PDF before you started working on the performance report or any of the forms, you could generate the PDF. So you have a baseline, you can see all the information that's being requested and maybe gather your information so you're ready. Or you can wait until you submit it and then generate the PDF, or you can wait until it's approved to generate the PDF. Whenever you want to memorialize the performance report, you can generate the PDF. And we're going to talk about generating PDFs a little bit later after we go through the submission process for this for a performance report. And then below the grantee data entry section, we have the approval history. And the approval history is going to be where you're going to be able to track any approvals or any change requests and your submissions that you make of your performance report. So if you submit a performance report, it would be tracked in the approval history. If your project officer comes back with a change request, then that change request and the comments that they provide would be tracked in the approval history. If you resubmit based on the changes that were requested under the change request, that's going to be a part of the approval history. And if they come back and finally approve it, that would also be a part of the approval history. So that's what the approval history does. So now that we've looked at what a report looks like when it's brand new, not started, let's go ahead and go back to our performance report list. And let's jump into a report where things are happening. So I'm going to go ahead and open up this performance report that is in progress by clicking on the tracking ID. And once at least one of your forms is in progress, in addition to seeing the tracking ID in the upper left, you're going to be able to see this message, which asks you to please complete all forms in order to submit this report. So it's directing you that all forms have to be completed before you can submit the report. And that is true. Each one of these forms has to have that green circle with a check mark before you're going to be able to submit the report. If we expand the header on this one, we can see the grant number, the grantee organization, the current reporting period, the report due date, and that review status is in progress, not started, but in progress. And then again, our submitted date is blank because this report hasn't been submitted yet either. And then we come down to our grantee data entry section, and we can see next to each one of our forms, there's a symbol, and our legend lets us know that form number 1 is complete. Forms 2, 3, 4, and 5 are in progress, and form number 6 is complete. For each one of these forms, we can click the view option to view them in read-only mode, or we can click the edit button to edit the forms. So let's go ahead and be bold and edit one of these forms. So I'm going to click on edit for form 1. And when form 1 opens up, the first step that you see in form 1, the first thing you see in form 1 is the public burden statement. And your public burden statement gives you information about the total public burden statement here. Part of the public burden statement will include the OMB control number and the date through which the OMB control number is valid. In addition to the public burden statement here, you'll notice that there's a back to main screen button here. This will take you back to the main screen where you can see all of the forms. If I click on it, see we're back to the main screen. We can see all of our forms. I can click on edit again to get right back into form 1. In addition to that back to main screen button, over to the right, you'll see that there's a section for steps. This is to help you navigate your forms. Each form that has a list of steps is showing you what steps need to be completed in order for that form to be considered completed. And so currently we're on the public burden statement. And the next step, there's only one more step, the priorities step. And then if we come down a little bit, we see there's a next button. The next button is very important. The next button is how your work is saved as you're going through your performance report. So that's very important to remember. Clicking on the next button is how you save your work. We're going to talk about that a little bit more. But for now, I'm going to click on the next button and take you to the next step in this form, which is priorities. And you're going to notice, if you look at the steps, the step that you were already on has a green circle with a check mark on it. The step that you're currently on has a blue circle. If you want to navigate back to that one of those previous steps, you can click on that green circle with the check mark and then bring you back. And then if you want to move forward, you click the next button. So now we're in the priority step, and here at the top, you see the form number and the form label. Once again, we have our expandable header and our back to main screen button, which would take us back to where we can see the forms. And then we have the first section, which is priorities. And for the priorities, there is some instructions. And then we have our first subsection, which is asking you, do you provide services to the patients in any of the following categories because of an EBTNP funding during this, because of any EBTNP funding during this reporting period? And so each one of these measures, you would answer the question. You'll notice there's a red asterisk next to each one of these measures that indicates that each one is a required field. So for each one, you're going to need to click on the down arrow and choose yes or no. And as you're going through, you can always come back and change them later. Before you submit, you have the option to change. And I'm going to go ahead and remove this one and clear it, just so I can show you what happens when you click the next button and a required field isn't filled in. You get a validation error. And in this case, the validation error is telling us that this is a required field. So you have to put in something. So I'm going to go ahead and put in Yes. And then once we've addressed all the measures on a step, the next thing you're going to see is the comments section. These comment sections are available to you on all the steps except the public burden statement step. And it allows up to 5,000 characters. You can use this to provide additional information to your project officer or the other staff reviewing your performance report. It is a form level comment. So if you put it in on form 1, you won't see it on forms 2, 3, or 4, or any of the other forms. You'll only see it on form 1. With forms with multiple steps, if you put in a comment, you'll on any one of the steps, you'll be able to see it on all of the steps. Then we have file attachments. Like the comments, the file attachments are form level. So any attachments that you do would be available on every step of a particular form. And we're going to look at both of those a little bit more later. Just wanted to talk about them because they were the next thing on that we were looking at. Then we have our previous button and our next button. Above the previous button and the next button, we have the OMB number again and the expiration date for the OMB number. The previous button is going to take you back to the previous page. So just like I clicked on that green arrow to take me back to the public burden statement, I can click on this previous button to take me back to the public burden statement. Your next button is going to take you to the next step in the form. If you're on the last step in the form, as we are now, then clicking the next button is going to take you back to the main screen where you see all of the forms listed. A couple of things happen when you click on the next button. As I said before, the next button is very important. First thing that happens when you click on the next button is a validation check. The system checks to make sure all the information that you put in meets all the validation requirements that are set up in the system. If it does not, then you get a message like we got before when that required field was blank, telling us that that field is required. And you won't be able to proceed to the next step or the next screen or have your work saved until you resolve that. And having your work saved is the next thing that happens when you click on the next button. Once all validations are resolved and everything is correct and meets all the validation requirements, then the system saves your record. And that's the only time that your record is saved is when you click on next and everything is validated as being proper. And then the third thing that happens is you are navigated to the next step in the form, or if you're on the last step in the form, you are navigated back to the main screen. So I'm going to go ahead and click next, and we're on the last step in the form. So it's going to bring us back to the main screen. So form 1 is complete. We're going to click on form 2, the edit button. This is our originating and distant sites. And in form 2, the originating distant sites, we have multiple steps, 3 steps. Once again, we have the form number and the form label. We have our expandable header, and we have the back to main screen button. And then we have some section level instructions for you. And then we have our first subsection, which is select settings. And then there are some subsection level instructions giving you information about what to do when you're selecting your settings. And to select settings, you're going to choose the settings that you want from the available window and use the arrows to move them over to the selected window. If you add something by mistake, you can move it back to the available window by using the other arrow to take it the other way. Once you have made your changes to the settings table, you need to click the save button in order for the changes that you made in this table to be saved. You get a little success message, shows you that your settings were successfully updated. Then we come to the comments section, and here in the comments section, you can see that I've already put in one comment, form 1 comment. This is form 2. Step 1. And I'm going to add another Form to comment. Step 1. Now I have 2 comments here, and then we come to our attachments. And here you can attach files, as I said before. If you have any information that you want to share with your project office or anyone else, give them additional information about what you're reporting. You can use the file attachments to do that. You can, any supporting documentation or anything like that can be uploaded. You can click the upload file option, and then you can select from your Windows Explorer or somewhere else on your computer the files that you want to share or have uploaded. And then click the open button. And the files are being uploaded. When each file is uploaded, you're going to get a green circle with a check mark next to that file. When all files are uploaded, the done button becomes active. So you can click the done button, and now you have files attached to this particular form. You can view the files by clicking on the link. You can see the date it was uploaded. There's actions here to download it, and you have the option to delete any file that you've attached if you decide you no longer want it to be attached. Your project officer, or your program coordinator and the other staff at HRSA are going to be able to come in and view these files and download these files, but they won't be able to delete these files. And so once you've made your changes to the setting, you put in your comments and you put in your file attachments, you can click the next button. And that brings us to the next step, which is select specialties. And once again, form number and title is there, expandable header, back to main screen button. And our subsection is to select the specialties, and there's subsection instructions about selecting the specialties. To select the specialties, you're going to move the specialties from available to selected. And then click save. And then you come down to your comments. You can see the previous comments that were made. It's available for you on every step. You can see the previous attachments that were made. It's available on every step. And then you can click next to go to the next step. Before I do that, I'm going to click the back to main screen button. Just want to show you something really quickly. Currently, we are looking at 6 forms. There's a 7th form that is available, which is for diabetes care, but that 7th form will only be available to you if you select the specialty for it. So going back into Form 2 and going through our settings and clicking next and coming to our specialties, if you select the diabetes clinical care specialty and then click save, so that your specialties are successfully updated, and then click next. The next time that we go back and look at our main screen, we're going to see that 7th form has been added. But so now we're in the originating and distant sites. This is going to list all of your sites, whether they're originating sites or whether they're distant sites. These sites are being brought over from the information that you had reported on your sites in the previous reporting period. You can see here you have an option to add a site. So if there are sites that have come up since the previous reporting period that you want to add, you can click on the add a site button to add a particular site. You can also see that the sites are listed here. And one of the sites has a red X, 2 of them have a check mark. The check mark means that this site has been verified. The red X means it has not been verified. If you have a site that is not verified, you can go in and edit the site to verify it. Let me go ahead and click on this down arrow in the row for the site. You have the option to view, edit, or delete this particular site. I'm going to click on edit. And here I'm seeing all the information that is put in for a site record. The site address information, the site additional information, the health professional shortage areas, the site settings, and the site specialties. Let's see if I can. And so we were getting a verification message. And that verification message was coming because the address has not been validated. So to validate the address, you want to click on the validate address button. And when you validate the address, you're going to see two boxes. One shows the address that you entered. The other shows the validated address, which is the address as the post office would keep the address or show the address. So you can either choose to use the address that you entered, in which case the verification will not be applied, or you can use the validated address. If you use the validated address, then then when we save this, your address is going to be validated. I also made a change here that I think is going to be able to show us what to do in case you get an error. So I'm going to click save. And yes, our record is verified. And the change I made gave us a little circle here, which indicates that there's an error. You also have this message here to please correct errors for the sites, which are highlighted. So this is indicating there's an error on this record for this site. If you click on the red circle, it'll tell you what the error is, saying please select a value for site specialties. So I can close the error. I can go back and edit and scroll down to the site specialties and select a specialty by moving it from available to selected. I can select more than one. Go ahead and select diabetes clinical services and then click save. And now the error message is resolved as well. Did mention before that you click the add site button to add a site. This is what it looks like. It's all the same fields that we just looked at. Each one with a red asterisk is a required field. It's just there isn't any information filled in. You'd have to fill in the information to set up the new site that you want to add. I should mention, if you have any questions about any information I'm sharing, please post your questions in the chat. My colleagues are standing by and ready to answer your questions, and we will have time at the end to answer any questions as well. Okay, so we have our originating and distant sites listed. They're verified. There are no errors. And if we scroll down, we can see that the next subsection is auto-calculated for us. It is calculating the number of originating sites and the number of distant sites. And that's based on this table here above. There are 3 originating sites here. So there are 3 originating sites here. You'll see that there's records per page is set to 10. If you have more than 10 records, then it would default to show you a page 2, and you could scroll back and navigate back and forth between page 1 and page 2. You also have the option to set a new record limit for each page, 10, 20, 50, or all records, all on one page. So it's up to you if you want to use the pagination option or if you just want to be able to see all the records on one page. And then we come down to our comments section. And our comments that we entered in step 1 and step 2 are now here in step 3. And same with our attachments. And then we have a box here that we need to check if we want to mark this form as complete. So I'm going to go ahead and check the box so I can mark the form as complete, and then I'm going to click next. And since I checked that box, now this form is marked as complete. So we're going to go ahead and jump into form 3, click the edit button. And in form 3, This is where you're going to put in the specialties and services by site. Once again, we have a message asking you to resolve an error, this time by selecting a value. And we have these red circles, which are indicating errors were found. And it's indicating that it wants us to put in a value in that last column where the question is, was specialty available in your community prior to the EBTNP funding? And so that's for rows 5 and row 6. So if I hover over the row under that question, I see a pencil. If I click on the pencil, I can choose an answer, yes or no. So I'll choose my answer, and then I'll hit the tab key on my keyboard. So my answer is there. It's highlighted in yellow. It is not, which indicates that it is not saved. Give me 1 second. I need a little drink. Just a little water to clear my throat. And then we're going to do the same for row 6. In row 6, I'm going to choose no. If you're choosing no, you're indicating that this is a new access to a service. If you're choosing yes, you're indicating that it's not. So you've chosen your answers. Now you need to save this grid or table and the changes that you made. And so when we save, the circles go away, the warning error message goes away, and we're able to scroll down. And in the total sites with new access to services, this is pre-calculated for us. Everywhere we set a no, that service is indicated as new access to service. And we're in a new form. So the comments from the previous form didn't carry over. The file attachments from the previous form didn't carry over. If we are done working in this form, mark the form as complete, and then click the next button. So now we're coming to form 4. And remember, I mentioned before, we added diabetes. So there is form 7 for diabetes. So, and so now we're going to form 4. We're going to click the edit button. And in form 4, once again, we're getting this message for the table to resolve some of the issues. There are errors here indicated by red circles. We need to fill in these fields in order to resolve the errors. So you're going to put in the number of unique patients and hit tab. Then you're going to hover over the real-time encounters, click on the pencil, put in the number of real-time encounters, say there was 12, 2 for each patient, and hit tab. And then you're going to put in the number of remote encounters, remote patient monitoring encounters. And let's say there was 1 for each patient, you're going to put 6. And then we're going to say, put in the number of store and forward encounters. And let's say there was 4 for each patient. So we put 24. And then the last column tallies up our total encounters. And we're going to do the same thing for row 6 in the table. I'm going to say 10, hit tab, real-time encounters, 10, remote patient encounters, 10, store and forward encounters, 10, and it calculates for us again. Both rows are highlighted in yellow because the information is in, but it has not yet been saved. You need to click on the save button. So we'll click the save button. Our error message goes away. The red circles go away, and now all the information is filled in. And then we scroll down and we see the auto-calculated fields for the total number of unique patients served as a result of EBTNP funding, and also for the total number of encounters as a result of EBTNP funding. So we have our comments section and our file attachment section. I'm not going to click the mark as form as complete just to show you what happens if you don't. and I click next. And Form 4 is not complete. I'm going to go ahead to Form 5. And in Form 5, this is where you're going to put in the patient travel miles saved. And so in this table, you fill in the information at the top. You can select an option for the primary service provided to the patient or the specialty. Let's say it was chronic care management. And then the total miles saved, and that should be for round trip. And then the total encounters. Let's say there was 3. And then click the add button. So now the information I just entered is added in the system. But see, we have more than 10 records. So we can use our pagination to navigate to the next page. And there is our total miles saved. And there's our total encounters for the chronic management without remote patient monitoring. We also have the option, as I said before, to change the number of records displayed to 10 to 20, 50, or all. And now we don't have to navigate between pages because everything's on the same page. And however whether you keep multiple pages or move it all to one page, the next subsection you see is going to show you the auto-calculated field for the patient travel miles saved. Then we have our comments, our file attachments, and mark form is complete. I'm going to go ahead and check the box to mark this form as complete, and then click next. And it marked that form as complete. And I'm going to go back to Form 4 and mark Form 4 as complete. And then we're going to go to Form 6 and click the edit button. And Form 6 is your other uses of Telehealth network. Each one of these fields with the red asterisk is a required field. The other value and the other specify field are tied together. If you put in an other value, but you don't put in an other specify, then you'll get a validation error, and vice versa. If you put in an other specify description, but not an other value, then you'll get a validation error. And I just want to show you that real quick. See, it needs, if this other specify field is filled in, then the other value field has to be filled in as well. This other specify field is letting you know that it allows up to 2,000 characters. It's expandable, so if you did have 2,000 characters in, you could see all 2,000 characters. We keep it collapsed so you don't have to scroll a lot just to get to the next section. And so these two are tied together as part of the validation, and these are required as part of the validation. And your distance learning is a calculated field that comes from the total number of sessions for formal education and informal education. So if you change the total number of formal education, total number of sessions to 12, then my distance learning went to 21. If I change the informal to 12 as well, then my distance learning went to 24. We have our comments and our file attachments, and then we click next. And then we come back to our last form, Form 7, which was hidden from us before, diabetes form. Click the start button. And there's one step in this section. Each one of the measures is required. You're going to put in the number of unduplicated patients with diabetes served during the reporting period. Then you're reporting the number of patients with diabetes whose A1C was less than 7.0. Then the number of patients with diabetes whose A1C fell between 7.1 and 9.0. And then the number of patients with diabetes whose A1C was greater than 9.0 or did not have testing done during this period. And I'm going to put in 14. And then I'm going to click save and show you one more validation. The validation here is that whatever you put in as your number of unduplicated patients with diabetes who were served during this reporting period, then these three measures need to equal what's in this measure here. And it doesn't currently, because I put in 14 for the last one, where the A1C is greater than 9.0. I'm going to change that to 11. So now 11 plus 11 plus 11 is 33. If I click the next button, my record saved, and it brought me back out to the main screen. And now all of our forms are complete. Everyone has a green circle with a check mark next to it. And once that's done, you're going to notice that there's a new message just below the tracking ID. All forms have been completed and validated. You may proceed to submit this report. You're also going to notice that you now see a submit for report for review button. If you click the submit for review button, that's going to open up the submit for review window. You can put in comments. They're optional. It allows up to 4,000 comments. And then once you have your comment in, if you decide you don't want to submit, you can change your mind and click the cancel button. But if you're ready to submit, you can go ahead and click the submit button. I'm going to click the submit button. So now that I click the submit button, we have some other changes. There's no message anymore. There's no submit for review button anymore. If we expand our header, then our review status is changed to submitted and our submitted date is filled in. If we come down to our forms, then there's no edit option because the forms have been submitted. The report has been submitted and now it's under review by your project officer. And if we come down to the approval history, you can see the most recent activity in the approval history is your submission. It's going to show the date and the time and date stamp for when it was submitted, the status, which is submitted, the person who submitted it, and any comments that were shared. If your program project officer does a change request and puts in comments, then when their change request is reflected, it'll be reflected here, and their comments will be reflected here. If the comments are long, you have the option to do a wrap text, and you can expand the comments to see a full comment, or you can keep it on clip text just to see the truncated comment. Also want to point out that I told you before we will come back to the generate PDF button. I'm going to go ahead and click on that now. And when you click on the generate PDF button, it begins to open up the preview window. When the preview window opens up, you'll see it saying generating PDF. Once it's ready for the PDF to be downloaded, you can click on the download PDF. Before I do that, just want to show you what the preview looks like. And then I'm going to go and click the download PDF option. And when you download the PDF, you're going to be able to open it up in the folder where the PDF is located, or you can go to just open that file. When you open that file, you're going to have the option to print that file or save that file to your records. It's like any other PDF that you're going to navigate. So it has many of the same options. And just looking at the PDF, it's showing the program name at the top, then it's showing your organization, the grant number, the reporting period start date, reporting period end date, the report due date, the submitted date, your public burden statement, and then it starts going through the information that you entered into the system. At the bottom of each page, you'll see the reporting period range, the printed date, and the page number. So I'm going to go ahead and close the PDF. And I know we're almost at time. I do want to show you one more thing. I want to show you the reports that are available to you. By clicking on the Data Extracts tab, you're going to be able to see the reports that are available to you. When you open up the Data Extracts tab, it's going to show you your recently viewed reports. The first time that you log in, you won't have any, or the first time you access this, you won't have any recently viewed reports. So you'll need to go to all reports, and it'll show you all the reports that you have available to you. And I'm going to, because we're looking at reports from 2 different programs, I'm just going to do a quick search. So we're only seeing the EBTNP reports. So there's the raw data report. And the raw data report is going to show you the raw data from your performance reports. The data information that you put in for your performance reports is here. Everything that you inputted is here. In addition to what you inputted, you'll see the program name, you'll see the data collection start and end date, a grant number, your grant organization, your grantee city, your grantee state, and then the tracking ID for each one of your performance reports. And this is going to include your performance reports from the PIMS Classic system, from your previous reporting periods, will be listed here as well. So you'll be able to see that old information. You won't see it in the user interface where you're putting your data in, but you will be able to come here and find it as a reference. And then once you get past the tracking ID, you're going to start seeing all the information that you entered in for each one of the measures that are listed. Now, for this program, a lot of your measures, a lot of your forms just have grids. Forms 2, 3, 4, and 5 have those tables in them. So we don't have the information from those tables reflected here, but we do have where you can put in any comments that you put in on those forms would be reflected here. To see the data for those individual forms, the tables, then you would come back to your all reports, and you're going to see, like for Form 2, the table, there is your EBTNP grantee originating and distance sites. This is going to reflect the table that you see when you look at Form 2 any day now. So there's the information there. We also have for you the EBTNP grantee origin and distance sites list. This report lists all the information that is put in for any particular site, not just what you see in that table on Form 2, but all the fields that were listed when we were looking at editing a field or creating a field. All of those fields associated with the site are here. So if you want to see everything that was put in for a particular site or all your sites, you would access that report. For Form 3, we have your EBTNP grantee specialty site, grantee specialty / service by site. And also for Form 3, we have the EBTNP sites with new access. So you can see those tables there from Form 3. For Form 4, we have the EBTNP grantee volume of service report. And then for Form 5, we have the EBTNP grantee, where is it? Grantee patient travel miles saved. And we also have a PIMS version of that, which is going to show you the information that was entered in PIMS Classic. So you're going to see in the descriptions here, you're seeing what each one of these reports is for. I'm gonna go ahead and open up this one. We also have one for, is that it? Yeah, Form 5. So I'm gonna open this one up just to show you what it looks like. So there is your grantee patient travel miles saved report. Each one of these is exportable. You click on the export option and you can export it as a formatted report, which would keep all the same headers and groupings and filter settings that you see when you're looking at the computer screen, or you can do as a details only and just get just the raw data itself, not grouped or filtered or with any headers. The formatted report only has one format option, .xlsx. Details only has multiple format options, 2 for Excel formatting and 1 for comma delimited. I'm not going to go ahead and export right now. And I know we're right at 4 o'clock, but if there are any questions, we can go ahead and open up the phone lines and, or sorry, you can go ahead and unmute. So I listen to too much talk radio. You can go ahead and unmute and answer your question, ask your questions, or you can post them in the chat. Let's see if there are any unanswered questions.
The only question we had so far is there a way to view / access our old PIMS reports to help us use as a guide, which I explained would be the reports that you just showed us. That's where that information is housed. Is that correct, Jerry?
That is correct. Are there any other questions?
No. Wow. We must have done a really good job, Jerry.
I hope that's the case. In any account, I wish you all a great weekend. If you have any questions come up in the future, please just reach out to your program office and share them with them, and they, or go through the help desk. Let me actually just show you the help desk information. If you click on the help tab, that will show you how you can contact the HRSA contact center. There's also some resources here for you, user guides and things like that. There's a section for OAT help as well. You can also go through your program office, and if we can assist, we will assist your program office and then filter and answer back to you.
All right, thank you all so much again for joining this webinar today. Thank you to the REI Systems team for giving us this overview. This was recorded and we will be getting that out to you all next week as well ahead of the reporting period. So if you have any questions in the meantime, please send them to myself or Louise. And as always, we'll pass them on to the REI team and anyone else. So thank you all so much again. Enjoy your Friday. Bye.
Thank you, April. Have a great
Thank you,
day.
Catherine. Bye.
Thank you. Everyone have a great weekend.
You were good.